the 22nd of March, 2011, 24-year-old Disney cruise ship worker Rebecca Coriam vanished into thin air whilst working off the coast of Mexico and was never seen again. Today, we're diving into the case and theories surrounding her mysterious disappearance. Rebecca Coriam was born on March 11, 1987, in Cheshire, England, to parents Mike and Anne Maria. Growing up, Rebecca's dream was to work for Disney, and in 2010, that dream was realized when she was hired by the Disney Wonder Cruise Line as a youth worker. Soon after she got the news, 23-year-old Rebecca left her home in England and traveled to Florida. By all accounts, things were going well for Rebecca. She spent 4 months on different rotations on a variety of boats and was absolutely loving her new job. After the initial training, Rebecca came home for 2 months and spent time with her friends and family whilst gearing herself up for another set of rotations. Shortly after she went back to work, her grandfather sadly passed away. So, Rebecca returned home briefly to attend the funeral. 2 weeks later, Rebecca prepared to fly back out to her ship, saying goodbye to her friends and family, and promising to keep in touch. They would never see her again. Rebecca's parents last spoke to her on March 21, 2011. The phone call ended with Rebecca promising to call them the next day. But the next day came, and hours passed, and the Coriams heard nothing from their daughter. Riding off the silence as Rebecca being stressed and tired, they told themselves that everything was fine, and they began getting ready to go to bed. Minutes later, the phone began ringing, and an official on the Disney Wonder was calling to tell them Rebecca was missing. Rebecca, who was scheduled to work at 9 a.m. that day, had failed to turn up. The alarm was raised as the cruise sailed down the Pacific coast of Mexico, bound for Puerto Vallarta and Cabo San Lucas. Crew members scoured the boat in search of the 23-year-old, but there was no trace of her. At 12 p.m., 3 hours after it was discovered she was missing, officials managed to find the CCTV footage detailing the last moments Rebecca was seen. The footage showed Rebecca at around 5:45 a.m. that day, in a section of ship only allowed for other crew members. Rebecca was on the phone, but by her expression and mannerisms, she seemed distressed. A couple of minutes later, a younger male employee appears in view. It looks like he asked her if she's okay. Rebecca is seen to respond and say she's fine, and walks away. These are her last known movements. She has never been found. So, what happened to Rebecca Coriam that night? Was she simply swept overboard? Or did her distress over what she heard on the phone cause her to commit suicide? Or was foul play involved? Let's explore some theories. The official line is that Rebecca fell overboard after a rough wave swept her into the sea below. But her parents, friends, and even UK MPs have based this theory as being utterly untrue. There is no record of any sort of weather that fateful night that could have caused a wave of that magnitude to carry a 23-year-old off the boat and into the waters below. Not only this, but Rebecca was actually seen on the CCTV on the first floor of the ship. The first floor of the ship, which had 6-foot barriers separating the boat from the sea, meaning the wave would have had to have been over 110 feet tall. Another theory is that Rebecca committed suicide. Colleagues on board the ship who had worked with Rebecca over the last few months claimed to have said that although she was bright and bubbly, there was an underlying sadness about her. Could it have been that the pressure of working away had gotten too much? Had the death of her grandfather been the final straw? Again, her family don't think so. In fact, they think Rebecca's death was part of a much larger cover-up. In the days after Rebecca was last seen, a detective from the Royal Bahamas Police Force was tasked with investigating the case. Just 3 days after he began his investigation, he closed it. Was he paid off? Why was the case shut so soon? Well, Rebecca's parents believed Disney had a part to play and a story to hide. Rebecca's parents, Mike and Anna Maria Coriam, were brought over from England to Los Angeles 3 days after Rebecca disappeared. According to the pair, Disney kept them in a car with blacked-out windows, allowing them to enter onto the ship through a barely used door only after all passengers had disembarked. By this time, Rebecca could have been anywhere. The ship's captain spoke to the Coriams and offered his condolences, but reiterated to them his disbelief that she had been swept overboard. "We were given cakes and then taken to the captain, who set us down and told us it was his disbelief our daughter had gone out to deck 5, and a wave had hit the ship and taken her over," Rebecca's father said. Mike and Anne continued their tour at Rebecca's cabin, where they were instructed by Disney to pack up their daughter's stuff. The couple were given a pair of flip-flops, which they were told belonged to their daughter. The ship and Disney officials claimed that the shoes were found on deck 5, where Rebecca was swept overboard. But the shoes belonged to an entirely different person. They were the wrong size for Rebecca, and it was later discovered that the shoes had another employee's name and cabin number written on the side. Had they been put there to throw the investigation off the scent? If so, what happened? Well, the biggest theory in this case is that Rebecca was sexually assaulted in the hours before she disappeared and killed before she could go to the authorities about the attack. Allegedly, Rebecca had met and fallen in love with a woman named Tracy Medley. Tracy was working on the Disney Wonder as a children's entertainer, and the pair spent most of their time together. Tracy described Rebecca as being crazy fun and passionately intense throughout the romance. However, the relationship wasn't as exclusive as Rebecca may have hoped. Eventually, Tracy introduced Rebecca to her boyfriend, Devin Hyde, who was also working on board the ship. Rebecca was apparently upset at the introduction of another man and wanted no part in this bizarre love triangle. This theory alleges that on the night Rebecca disappeared, she was seen drinking at the bar late into the night with Tracy and Devin. When the bar closed, the trio went back to one of their rooms and had a threesome. Whether Rebecca consented initially or not, after the encounter she was so traumatized she left the room to go out and get some air. Here, she apparently bumped into Mark Rotherham, who was head of security. Mark later came out and said that Rebecca told him she was pressured into having sex with Devin by Tracy that night. Rebecca told Mark that Tracy had told her she needed to do this in order to carry on dating Tracy. Rebecca told Mark that she was uncomfortable with the situation, and Mark stated that he believed this encounter was her first time being with a man. Mark told Rebecca not to return to Tracy and Devin and to calm down and go to bed. Not only does this theory have a witness, Mark, to back it up, but on the CCTV footage, the clothes Rebecca was wearing appeared to be Mel's clothes. Here, she was clearly distressed and on the phone with someone. This someone was revealed to be Tracy O'Brien, another worker on board the Disney Wonder. It's speculated that after the phone call, Rebecca was making her way to the ship's medical facility to seek help. Had she been cornered and thrown overboard? It was later revealed that Devin was in fact married at the time. Was Rebecca killed to cover up his infidelity? This is what her family believe. But I'll leave you with one final theory, that Rebecca became a victim of human trafficking. Cruise ships are notorious for unreported crimes due to unclear responsibilities of jurisdiction due to being out on open water. Had the blurred laws meant it was easy for Rebecca to be smuggled off the ship? You may well already know the case of Amy Bradley, who went missing after partying late into the night whilst on a cruise with her family in late March 1998 at the age of 23. Witnesses came forward years later with photos that appear to show the young woman drugged and working at a brothel in Curaçao, close to where she disappeared. While still unproven, the cases of Rebecca and Amy are closely linked, with many believing Rebecca suffered from the same fate. Backing this theory up are two key pieces of evidence. In the weeks after Rebecca disappeared, her parents got an email from her bank saying there had been some activity on her account. Her credit card had been used. Was she still alive and out there somewhere? A little under a year after her disappearance, her family received an email from a woman claiming she had seen Rebecca with a dark-haired man in Venice. The woman said she was 85% sure it was Rebecca. Was it really Rebecca? And if so, who was the man? Could he have been her handler? In 2015, the Coriam family held a funeral in Grosvenor Park for their daughter, though they continue to hope that one day Rebecca will be found safe. So, what do you think? A major-scale cover-up? Or was it really something as simple as a rough wave?